Me, greater than 17, just moved back to US. Born here, but raised in Germany. Boxer, practiced jiu-jitsu for years. Physically strong, but value self-control. Arrived in New York with my parents. Life felt different, almost unreal. I looked like any American kid, but inside I felt completely foreign. My accent made me stand out immediately. My manners weren't what people expected. I carried years of Europe in me. Kids noticed every little difference fast. I felt like a stranger among my own, walking through hallways like enemy territory. Noise of lockers, laughter, running footsteps. Everyone already had their groups. I was the odd piece on the board, pretended to read during breaks, hiding behind pages of old books. But hiding only paints a target bigger. First week felt like a long exam. I knew a storm was waiting ahead. Lunchtime on a noisy Tuesday. I sat alone with my book, hoping to pass like a shadow. Then 3 guys closed in fast. Zach, tall blonde with cocky grin. Chris, broad shoulders, fists like bricks. Jay, skinny loudmouth with sharp tongue. They called themselves kings of school. Their eyes locked on me, the newcomer. Jay laughed at my German accent. Chris shoved my tray off the table. Zach leaned close, voice full of threat. He said I had to follow their rules. I stared right back into his eyes. Told him fear doesn't equal strength. Power isn't 3 against 1. I called them failed evolution examples. Crowd around us exploded in laughter. Their faces burned red with shock. They expected fists, not words. I won that round without a punch. Walked away with my dignity intact. They walked away looking smaller. That moment changed the whole balance. But bullies never quit that easily. I knew Zach would try again soon. They hated losing face in front of many. Still, I held on to my calm. Boxing taught me control, not anger. Jiu-jitsu taught me patience and timing. Every lesson from Germany echoed inside. Don't fight unless there's no choice. The true victory is not swinging first. So I kept quiet, kept watching. But teachers brought their own battles. Mr. Brown, strict math teacher, doubted me. He gave surprise tests to new kids. Wanted to see me stumble hard. I stayed up nights practicing problems, writing equations until hands cramped. Coffee and determination kept me awake. I refused to be another failure story. Day of the test came quickly. I finished earlier than anyone else. Walked up and dropped paper on his desk. He smirked, sure I'd collapse in shame. But results told a different story. I scored almost top in the class. The classroom went silent at results. Mr. Brown's proud smile disappeared instantly. He looked at me with suspicion, like he couldn't accept I earned it. But facts were facts on the paper. I had proven myself without excuses. Students turned their heads toward me. Some whispers carried across the room. New kid wasn't just some outsider. He could actually stand on his own. It felt like the first real win. A win not with fists, but with mind. Walking home that day felt lighter. Streets of New York buzzing with life. I passed shops blasting loud hip-hop. Kids played basketball on cracked courts. I breathed deep. City air felt heavy. But inside I felt strangely free. I could survive here, maybe thrive. Yet I knew challenges weren't finished. Zach, Chris, and Jay still lingered, waiting for a chance to strike again. I kept my guard up, silently ready. Days passed. Tension stayed in hallways. Zach's stare followed me everywhere I walked. Chris cracked his knuckles just seeing me. Jay whispered jokes loud enough for all. But none dared repeat the cafeteria scene. Their pride still bleeding from that day. I knew they'd test me again somehow. So I focused on staying balanced. Kept my training hidden under the surface. Ran in the mornings before school. Punched the bag in our basement quietly. Never bragged. Never showed off strength. Some classmates started noticing my calm. A few even sat with me at lunch. Conversations began, slow but steady. I was no longer a ghost completely. Then one afternoon, Emily approached me. She was popular, confident, everyone's crush. Her friends giggled behind her back. She told me straight that she liked me. Asked if I wanted to date her. The hallway froze, ears waiting my answer. I looked her in the eyes calmly. I told her dating felt shallow to me, like painting a whole canvas with one color. Pretty at first, but empty with time. Relationships should mean more than appearances. Her smile faded into tight silence. Whispers filled the hall almost instantly. Some laughed, some gasped, some rolled eyes. Emily walked away, face red with anger. I stayed standing, unshaken by reactions. That moment made me even more of an outsider, but also someone they couldn't fully control. The bullies smirked, thinking I blew my chance. Yet deep inside I knew my truth. I wasn't here to play roles for anyone. New York was testing me at every corner. Each test felt heavier than the last, but every choice carved my identity deeper. Better to be disliked for honesty than loved for wearing a mask. Walking home that day, I replayed it all. Her eyes, the crowd, the silence after. I realized standing firm had its cost, but losing myself would cost far more. The next week, tension shifted again. Emily ignored me completely in class. Her friends shot quick glances and whispers. I could feel their judgment everywhere I walked, but I kept my head high. Better cold shoulders than false acceptance. Still, the bullies weren't done circling. Zach leaned against my locker one morning. Smirk plastered across his face as usual. Chris stood close, arms folded like stone. Jay cracked jokes about lonely foreign boy. I didn't rise to their bait this time. I simply closed my locker slowly, looked Zach in the eyes without fear, asked if this was really all he had. 3 against 1 and still insecure. His smirk faltered for just a second. Other students nearby started watching us. Attention made him back off reluctantly. They walked away, pretending it was nothing. I knew another clash was inevitable, though. For now, words still kept me safe, but shadows of fists lingered in the air. After that encounter, I stayed alert. Days felt like walking on thin ice. But something else began to change slowly. A few students started respecting my stance. They saw I wouldn't fold under pressure. One kid even thanked me quietly. Said Zach had tormented him for months. He wished he had spoken up earlier. That moment struck deeper than any insult. I realized my defiance wasn't just mine. Others drew strength from watching me resist. New York hallways felt less lonely after that. Still, Mr. Brown continued eyeing me closely, as if waiting for my first real mistake. He assigned another brutal round of problems. I stayed awake with coffee-stained notes. Every number sharpened my resolve further. Test day came, and I felt steady. Finished early again, left the room calm. Students turned heads, whispers followed. Mr. Brown's frown deepened into silence. By then I didn't need approval anymore. My focus was on proving myself true. Weekends became my secret sanctuary. I ran through quiet city streets at dawn. Cold air stung, but cleared my mind. Boxing gloves thudded against the heavy bag. Every punch reminded me of discipline. Strength wasn't for showing off in crowds. It was for mastering my own chaos. Jiu-jitsu rolls taught me patience under pressure. I carried those lessons into every hallway stare. Rumors about me started to spread slowly. Some said I was dangerous, others mysterious. I didn't correct them. Silence worked better. Meanwhile, Zach kept his distance mostly. Chris sometimes cracked his knuckles near me. Jay still muttered insults under his breath. But none dared push beyond words again. I felt them waiting for the right moment, testing if I would slip and lose control. I made sure never to give that chance. The more I stayed composed, the more it burned them, and the more others around me took notice. My battle was being fought without fists still. Then came the basketball game night. Whole school gathered in the noisy gym. Crowds screamed, sneakers squeaked on the floor. I wasn't playing, just watching quietly. Zach and his crew strutted like heroes. After the game, they spotted me instantly, cornered me near the exit doors. Crowd half dispersed, but some stayed to watch. Zach shoved my shoulder with a grin. Chris blocked the path behind me. Jay laughed loud, calling me German boy. My pulse quickened, but I stayed calm. I asked Zach if he was proud. 3-on-1 after a school victory. Is that really the strength he bragged about? Murmurs spread through the small crowd. Some students already recording on phones. Zach's smile faltered for a heartbeat. He stepped closer, fists twitching impatiently. I braced myself for the first swing, ready to defend, but not start it. Silence hung thick in the gym doorway. The moment stretched like a drawn bowstring. Zach finally swung with his right fist. Time slowed. Training took over instantly. I slipped the punch with calm ease. His momentum carried him off balance. I tapped his shoulder, let him stumble forward. Crowd gasped. Whispers filled the hallway air. Chris lunged next, heavy and reckless. I sidestepped, redirected him with jiu-jitsu grip. He crashed into lockers with a loud bang. Jay froze, laughter dying in his throat. I didn't throw a single strike back. Just used their anger against themselves. Students watching couldn't believe their eyes. Bullies defeated without brutal punches flying. Zach scrambled up, face burning with rage. But he didn't swing again this time. He saw the crowd filming every second. Knew his reputation was already cracked. I stood still, breathing steady and calm. Looked at them like shadows, not monsters. That silence hurt them more than any bruise. They walked away humiliated, heads low finally. For once I felt the balance shifting truly. After that fight, everything changed fast. Videos spread across the whole school. Everyone had seen the so-called kings fall. Not with fists, but with their own weight. Students whispered my name in the hallways. Some with respect, others with fear. I stayed the same, quiet and steady. Never bragged, never fueled the rumors. But the air around me felt different. Zach, Chris, and Jay avoided my path. Their glares carried hate, but also hesitation. Without their image of control, they were smaller. Teachers noticed the shift as well. Mr. Brown stopped piling random tests on me. Maybe he realized pressure couldn't break me. Or maybe he just lost interest in trying. Either way, my desk felt lighter in class. Emily still ignored me with sharp silence. But I didn't regret what I said. Better to stand firm than fake affection. The lesson was etched deep inside me. New York began feeling less like a battlefield, more like a stage where I could grow. Weeks passed, and tension slowly cooled. Hallways no longer echoed with constant threats. I walked freely without watching my back. A few classmates even joined me at lunch. Conversations felt lighter, less like tests. Some asked about Germany, curious not cruel. I told them stories of discipline and training. How boxing gyms smelled of sweat and metal. How jiu-jitsu mats taught patience and humility. They listened, wide-eyed at every detail. For the first time I felt understood. Not just the foreign kid in the corner, but someone with experiences worth sharing. Even teachers began treating me differently. Mr. Brown once nodded at my work silently. That small gesture felt heavier than words. I realized respect isn't given, it's earned. And sometimes it's carved out painfully. Zach and his crew still lingered in shadows. Their pride too wounded to face me again. Yet their silence was louder than threats. Victory wasn't about beating them down. It was about standing taller without breaking. New York itself became another teacher. Streets roared with horns and sirens daily. Subways rattled with strangers shoulder to shoulder. I learned to move with the chaos, to stand firm even in crowded noise. City taught survival in every corner. Eyes watching, chances testing my patience. Sometimes I missed Germany's quiet mornings. But I knew this city was my forge. Here weakness was spotted in seconds. And here I was proving my strength. One evening I passed a playground nearby, saw Zach alone sitting on the bench. His shoulders slumped, no friends around. For the first time he looked human. Not a bully, just a broken boy. I didn't approach, just kept walking. But deep inside I felt something shift. He wasn't my enemy anymore truly. He was just another lost kid. New York created both of us this way. Only difference was how we carried it. And I chose to carry it with control. Life at school grew quieter each day. Bullies kept their distance without a word. Emily's anger faded into simple indifference. Teachers treated me like any other student. Still, I never forgot the first weeks. How fear had circled me like wolves. How every stare felt like a challenge. Those memories carved steel into my spine. Strength wasn't about fighting or winning. It was about refusing to fold inside. Sometimes I still trained late at night. Gloves thudding in rhythm like a heartbeat. Each punch a reminder of self-control. Each breath a promise I wouldn't break. New York no longer felt foreign entirely. Its chaos had become part of me. Every subway ride, every crowded hallway. was another test I chose to pass. I stopped hiding behind books completely, started speaking up in class more often. Slowly, friendships began to form naturally, pieces of a new life falling into place. One cold morning, I reached school early. Hallways empty, footsteps echoing like drums. I liked those moments of silence best. They reminded me of German mornings alone. Peace before the storm of voices. As I sat down, Emily walked in. For once without her group of friends. She paused, looked at me quietly. I expected bitterness, another cold shoulder. Instead, she asked why I rejected her. Her voice softer than I'd ever heard. I told her the same truth again. That I didn't want shallow pictures. That I wanted something real someday. She nodded slowly, eyes narrowing in thought. No anger this time, just reflection. Then she sat 2 seats away silently. It wasn't friendship, not yet anyway. But it wasn't war anymore either. In that small shift, I felt progress. Even broken bridges sometimes find repair slowly. Maybe New York wasn't only tests. Maybe it offered second chances too. Spring crept into the city slowly. Streets filled with louder crowds and colors. School buzzed with plans for summer break. I felt more like part of it now, not a stranger watching from the outside. Some classmates invited me to play basketball. I wasn't great, but I joined anyway. Laughter echoed as we missed easy shots. For once, competition didn't feel hostile. It felt like belonging in small pieces. Later that day, Zach passed by quietly. He didn't throw insults or smirks anymore, just walked past with lowered eyes. His silence spoke more than words could. I realized battles end in strange ways. Not with victories, not with apologies, but with people simply letting go. And sometimes that was enough for peace. At home, my parents noticed my calm, asked if school was treating me better. I said yes, and this time meant it. Their relief showed in quiet smiles. Life was slowly becoming bearable again. Despite calmer days, I never relaxed fully. New York always held surprises in shadows. Subway rides taught me to stay alert. Street corners taught me to trust instincts. But inside school, the storm had quieted. I used free time to focus on studies. Books stacked high on my small desk. Equations, essays, and history dates everywhere. Learning became my shield as much as fists. Grades climbed steadily higher each semester. Teachers began nodding at my work proudly. Mr. Brown even gave rare compliments once. That meant more than I expected it would. Respect was no longer forced, it was earned. My circle of friends grew slowly wider. Kids who once watched me warily now laughed. We shared lunches and weekend plans together. The feeling of exile finally faded. I belonged, not by pretending, but by truth. Every hardship carved the person I was, and I carried each scar as proof. Summer heat wrapped the city in fire. Basketball courts echoed with shouts and sneakers. Ice cream trucks rang down crowded streets. I spent mornings running through the park, pushing my body past tired limits. Training was no longer just survival. It became my ritual of growth. Each drop of sweat, another lesson learned. My friends started noticing my discipline. Some even asked me to train them. I showed them simple drills, basic moves. Not to fight, but to find control. We laughed as they stumbled and tried. For once, my strength built connection, not distance. In those moments, I felt truly alive. No longer the outsider hiding behind walls, but someone who could inspire others. Evenings, I sat on the fire escape. City lights blinking like restless stars below. Thinking of Germany and the path here. Realizing both places shaped who I was. And both would always live inside me. As summer deepened, I found balance. School pressures faded into steady rhythm. Bullies barely glanced in my direction now. Their power dissolved like smoke in wind. I no longer carried fear in hallways. Instead, I carried quiet confidence daily. Friends joked with me during lunch breaks. Teachers trusted me with harder assignments. Even Emily sometimes offered small smiles. Not romance, but a truce of respect. The city outside pulsed with constant noise. Horns, sirens, shouts blending into music. Yet inside me, calm remained unshaken. I realized battles weren't just fights or tests. They were choices made in silence. Choices to stay true under pressure. To value honesty more than acceptance. Every day became proof of that truth. I wasn't just surviving New York anymore. I was learning to belong my own way. Without masks, without surrender, without fear. By autumn, leaves painted streets in fire. School halls buzzed with new energy again. I walked through them no longer invisible. People greeted me with nods and smiles. Sometimes even asked for help with homework. The same kids who once mocked my accent now listened closely to my explanations. I saw respect growing in their eyes, and I carried it without arrogance. Zach and his crew stayed mostly quiet. Their shadows no longer loomed over me. Rumors of their fall still lingered softly, but time had dulled the sting for everyone. I sometimes caught Zach watching from afar. His face not angry, just thoughtful. Maybe he finally understood what I meant. That fear and numbers don't equal strength. Life felt like it was settling at last. My parents noticed I smiled more often. Nights at dinner were filled with stories. For the first time, I felt truly home. Winter arrived with sharp winds and snow. City streets glittered under pale streetlights. Breath turned white in the frozen air. Inside school, warmth replaced the old tension. My circle of friends had grown strong. We shared jokes, projects, and long talks. Sometimes I forgot I was once an outsider. Teachers trusted me, classmates respected me. Even Emily joined our group at lunch. Her laughter mixed with ours naturally. Zach, Chris, and Jay kept their distance. But they no longer looked like enemies. Just classmates fading into the background. I understood something important then. Strength wasn't about winning battles alone. It was about creating space for peace. About showing others another way forward. Germany had taught me discipline and control. New York had tested both to the limit. And together they shaped who I became. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building the life I wanted. Looking back, the journey felt unreal. From stranger in crowded New York hallways to someone who finally belonged within them. I learned fists weren't my sharpest weapon. Words and self-control cut deeper instead. Bullies lost their power without a fight. Teachers saw I carried discipline inside. Friends appeared where silence once ruled. Even enemies turned into distant shadows. Strength revealed itself in quiet choices. In refusing to bend under pressure. In staying honest when lies seemed easier. The boy who left Germany was uncertain. The one who stood here now was unshaken. And though challenges would always come again, I knew I carried enough to face them. New York became less a battlefield, and more a forge shaping who I was. Every scar, every stare became part of me, and I wouldn't trade a single one. What would you do in my place? Stand with fists or stand with words? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched you, leave a like. So I know I'm not alone in this path.